We're using our basketfuls of pears to make pear honey. And here's the cool thing about pear honey is that there's not actually any honey in it. All you need is pears and your choice of sugar. If you want to use white granulated sugar, raw sugar, coconut sugar, whatever kind of sugar you want, that's what you can use. The cool thing about pear honey is that it is the act of simmering the pears with a little bit of sugar that turns it into this most beautiful simmered pear jam. And it's delicious on scones, English muffins, put it with a slice of cheese. Literally, sky's the limit. You can use it like you use any other jam. But if you have loads of pears, this is how we make it. And the thing that I love about this recipe the most, besides the fact that we can use up all of our pears because we have so many of them right now, is that whether you make it with barely any sugar or you go to the full extent of the sugar and you make a full jam, it's delicious. And you get to choose. Now, I'll show you at the end, it changes the color of it, the more sugar that you add, but the flavor is completely up to you. So let's go out to the orchard, let's go harvest some pears and make some pear honey.
For this recipe, you're going to need 8 cups of peeled, cored, and chopped pears, which turns out to be about like 15 to 20 average size pears. And we feel so lucky because we have a crazy pear tree that produces so many pears. And this year it has gone nuts. So we have been making batches of pear honey and all sorts of goodness. But for this recipe, you want to make sure that you get every ounce of the peel off. You don't want any peel in your pear honey. It does not cook down the way that the fruit part does. So make sure you do a really thorough job. No peel in the mixture. Then you want to just cut that fruit in chunks. Cut the pear pieces off of the core. You also don't want to have any part of the core. If there's any part of the pears that doesn't look good, it's damaged. Ours sometimes worms or stuff gets in them because they're just organic pears growing on our tree. I make sure I cut out any of the bad parts. I do think that this recipe works best with pears that are ripe. When your pears are really crunchy still, it changes the texture of the pear honey and it takes a really long time for the pears to cook down. So wait for your pears to be ripe. Also, I think it works best with the green, yellow, Bartlett style pears. This recipe is not a good one for Asian pears. Asian pears have a completely different texture to them. They don't cook down as soft. So just use your standard green, yellow, even the red pears are amazing for this recipe. So you want to start off with that 8 cups of chopped up pear, and then this is where it's your choice. You can decide how much sugar to put in. The full amount of sugar is 8 cups, which I know sounds ridiculous, but that's how you make jam. A lot of times in a lot of jam recipes, it's actually more sugar than fruit. So this one's a little bit better, but you can decide how much sugar you put in. You don't have to use that much. I have made lots of batches with only 1 cup of sugar because I wanted it to be just a slight bit healthier, but try it full strength sugar. You choose the kind of sugar that you want to use. The cool thing when you put that much sugar in is what gives it the honey look, but also the honey flavor. It makes it incredibly sweet, and you get this it's pear honey. It's so wild. I can't wait for you to have some and be able to try it. But here's the part that this can't be rushed. You want to mix that sugar in with your pears, and it is going to slowly simmer on the stove. You can do this in a crock pot, but you want it to be simmering because it needs to almost caramelize the pears in a sense, and that sugar is cooking down into this just most delicious pear syrup. You're going to simmer the pears with the sugar until the pears look glassy. They start to look almost like they're see-through. That's when you know you can begin to crush them with like a potato masher, or if you have an immersion blender, that works as well. But the pears are gonna simmer on your stove. It takes a couple hours, and you wanna just pop on by every 30-ish minutes, give them a stir. Now, if you are going with less sugar, you will need to put the lid on. When you're using even just a couple cups of sugar, it makes more of a syrup in the pot, which helps the pears to cook. If you're going very, very low on the sugar content, then put your lid on so that all of the moisture doesn't escape as it's simmering, because that moisture needs to be in there to help those pears cook. So if you look at yours and you're like, gosh, it looks really dry, then put maybe 1/4 of a cup of water back into the pot, put the lid on, and allow it to continue simmering. It will get to the point that the pears completely cook down. You barely have to do anything to get them to mash. Once your pears are fully cooked down, it's really easy to mash them with a potato masher, but if you want it to be really smooth, go ahead and use an immersion blender. I like to leave some of ours a little bit chunky, but then make some smoother, and I wanted to show you this because it's so fascinating. The one on the left is the pear honey that I made with only 1 cup of sugar. The one on the right has full strength, 8 cups of sugar, and look at the difference in the color. As that sugar is cooking with the pears, it caramelizes and it creates that honey color. Save this, you can put it in the freezer. It will last in your fridge. It'll keep for probably a month or so, but I do like to can ours as well. I just fill the 1/2 pint jars, leave a little room at the top, put on your sanitized lids, and then do a water bath for 20 minutes. I'm putting this full recipe down in the description below, plus a link to the blog. If you click over onto our blog, then you can actually print this recipe, which makes it a little bit easier to follow. But I'm so glad that you're here in the kitchen with us. We love sharing the goodness that is coming out of our garden, our orchard, what we're filling our own table with. We love when you comment and you leave questions, because your questions help us create more content. Bring on the questions. We look forward to having you join us in the kitchen again soon. We have so much more fun to come in the weeks ahead. But for now, go soak in those final rays of sunshine, pick some fresh fruit, and have so much fun making your own batch of pear honey.